You just signed a contract on a property in the state of New Jersey. First of all, congratulations, because that in and of itself is a phenomenal accomplishment. As we know, the market has been a little wacky for the past 6 years. So, having said that, whether you're a buyer or a seller, now the attorney review process is going to begin. And in the state of New Jersey, it's truly like no other state. There's a lot of little funky things that take place during that time. And I want to share with you all that there is to know about attorney review so you are prepared to move forward. I pride myself on making sure that my clients feel educated and comfortable throughout the whole process. My name is Jennifer Stowe. I serve Central New Jersey, and I am looking forward to sharing my information with you. So, in the state of New Jersey, every contract has a built-in attorney review period. And a lot of people get confused about what exactly that means. Every buyer and seller have 3 days. So essentially, one party needs to open up attorney review within that 3-day period. A lot of people think that attorney review lasts 3 days, but in reality, either party has 3 days to open up the process. And what generally happens in this state is the buyer's attorney will send a letter to the seller's attorney and say, I disapprove of the said contract in its current state, and I will approve of it with the following changes. So what happens if neither party send a letter within that 3-day period? Well, that means that the contract in its current state does and is binding. So basically, New Jersey Association of Realtors wrote the contract that most of us use, and it is a starting point. There are a lot of things in that contract that are not and should be included in a said contract in the state of New Jersey. One big thing that's missing from that contract is the right to inspect for any underground oil tanks. That is a big issue in New Jersey, and it's a big issue throughout the state. So that's always one thing that the attorneys put in. Then there's a lot of other language in there that has to do with who pays what fees and title fees and so on and so forth. All of that is going to be taken a look at by each attorney, and they are going to determine whether or not those charges stand in the current contract. So here's the kicker, and this is what a lot of people don't understand. Once attorney review is opened, the clock stops, meaning two parties can be in and out of attorney review in a few hours, or it could take weeks. It doesn't really make a difference. And during that period, any party, for any reason, can cancel the contract. It is not binding at that point because changes are currently being made. And that is a general rule of thumb with any contract. Once somebody disagrees on a portion of a contract, unless the other party agrees, the contract is no longer binding. And because either party can walk away for any reason, it's a very uncomfortable period, and a lot of times there's a lot of pressure that builds during that time. So there's a lot of pressure on the attorneys to do things quickly, and there's a lot of pressure on the buyers and the sellers to make decisions based on what the attorneys are recommending. And as we know, sometimes people get busy and it gets a little bit difficult. So it is important to know who you're working with, what attorney you're working with, and their availability, because if they are not available to focus on your contract at that time, you could in turn end up losing the property if you're a buyer. And if you're a seller, the buyers could turn around, put another contract in on another property, and they could walk away with no penalty whatsoever. A couple of the things that attorneys are changing right now in this environment are inspection contingencies, appraisal contingencies, mortgage contingencies. A lot of people are putting in offers stating that they're going to pay cash, and then they are deciding to get financing, which then changes that contingency. So there are a lot of things kind of going back and forth, but basically we're talking about municipalities, we're talking about inspections, we're talking about appraisals, and timelines as well. Once attorney review concludes, generally speaking, that is when the timeline actually starts. So what exactly is happening during attorney review? So the attorneys are sending back and forth riders and amendments. It's what I just mentioned before. So the buyer's attorney generally opens up attorney review in our state, and it will give a list of changes. Usually it's a lot of boilerplate, but then they will also take a look at the specific guidelines in the contract of sale. So this is where a lot of things are going south right now in the state of New Jersey, because buyers are putting things in the contract to win the bid, and their attorneys are taking a look at the contract and saying, no, we're not going to do that. So they're trying to change terms prior to us going under contract or the sellers going under contract, which has caused a lot of friction between buyers and sellers. So again, to reiterate, the common misconceptions about attorney review: number one, once we sign a contract, we're under contract. We are not. It is a negotiation period, unfortunately. Basically, everything goes back to the drawing board, and either party can walk away without penalty. No questions asked. They can terminate for any reason. Should you be worried if it's 2 weeks in and attorney review hasn't been concluded? In some cases, yes, you should. And in some cases, no, you shouldn't. It's really dependent upon whether or not the buyers and the sellers are cooperating with one another. And it more is dependent upon the speed with which the attorneys can complete things. So sometimes it's just a lack of communication on the attorney's part and they're busy. And sometimes there is some friction between the buyers and the sellers. In that case, if there is friction and you're feeling friction, that might be a time that you need to reevaluate and decide what you're going to do, because in that time period, there is a good chance that another buyer can come in and scoop that house up, or from a buyer's perspective, they can go out looking because they feel like the seller is going to be a little bit too difficult to work with. So a lot of times before you list your home, go over all of that with your agent. Make sure that you're going over what could potentially come up in attorney review. Make sure you understand the language so that you can communicate with your attorney quickly and get those letters back and forth. It's super important. Another common question during attorney review from a seller is, can I accept another offer? And the simple answer is yes, you can. Is it necessarily the right thing to do? That's for each person to decide. Again, it goes back to whether or not everything is moving along smoothly, how strong the offer is. If another offer came in that was substantially stronger, a better closing date, you certainly have the right to accept another contract, just as the buyer has the right to put in another contract on another property, although it is extremely frowned upon. So generally speaking, the attorney review period in New Jersey is not a comfortable place to be for a long time. So if you have any questions or you want clarification or even some sample letters, I would be happy to share them with you. Just comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more videos like this. I am truly grateful for every single one of my clients. I deal with a lot of referrals from my past clients, and I want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable in this process. So whether it's attorney review, what happens when you're under contract, if you want the whole process to be explained to you, please feel free to reach out. Buying a home is and can be as stressful as having a baby and going through major life transitions. And the thing is it doesn't need to be. Make sure you're educated, make sure that your agent is knowledgeable, make sure that your team that you have surrounding you is capable, and you will have a nice, smooth process.